Well, a combination of weather, recent flight caps, and the start of March break could make for a very busy day at Pearson Airport.
No doubt about that. Let's talk about it right now with Rachel Bertone, Senior Communications Advisor with the Greater Toronto Airports Authority. Rachel, thanks for joining us this morning. You're live in one of those terminals this morning. What is the sort of passenger traffic looking like today?
Thank you so much for having me. So, it's a busy time, March break here at Toronto Pearson. It's looking really good. Just so you guys know, March break's typically one of the second busiest times for us. And leading into this weekend, we're going to be seeing upwards of 125,000 passengers a day at our peak.
Wow, that's a lot. Okay, and Rachel, can you fill us in a little more about how the flights are being capped or limited?
Yeah, absolutely. So, they're actually not being limited in the way that I think is being interpreted. We worked back in August 2022 with our airline partners to collaboratively reduce the peaks and valleys of travel. So, for example, at 6 a.m. when there's a lot of flights happening, and then at 2 p.m. maybe there's not so many. So we work collaboratively with them to flatten those peaks and valleys so customers won't see any of their flights being canceled as a result of this.
So it's just kind of moving around when the flights take off to avoid high travel periods. Okay, thanks for that clarification. Very important.
Indeed. Exactly. So let's also talk, Rachel, about the idea that not only is March break a big travel period, but it's happening in the middle of winter. We saw what happened around, Christmas with all the weather that sort of blew in as well. We've got some potential weather moving in today. What's Pearson preparing for, and what are you advising to travelers about that?
Absolutely. So first and foremost, first of all, it's March break and it's Canada, so we always have some sort of inclement weather in the forecast sometimes. So check your flight status before you're leaving to the airport. Since it's typically a little bit busier than it would normally be, if you're traveling to an international destination, arrive 3 hours before your flight, and domestic 2 hours. Always check your flight status before you're leaving to the airport and utilize our digital tools because they will let you have a more predictable airport experience.
Okay, yeah, and you just mentioned digital tools. When we spoke with you earlier, Rachel, you mentioned that there's these new fast track or express lanes for people. Can you give us a refresher on what that is?
Yes. Absolutely. So YYZ Express is the tool for you to book your spot in the security line ahead of time. You can do that up to 3 days before your flight, and we've actually expanded the hours. So in Terminal 1, you can book it from 5 a.m. all the way to 9 p.m. and Terminal 3 from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. So we've expanded that program, and it's a really good way for families. Up to 10 people can book their spot in the security line ahead of time.
The other thing people seem to need a reminder for, Rachel, is how to handle the security screeners and everything else like that. People seem to forget what they need to either take off or put in bins and things like that. That can really help speed up the travel experience as well. We heard so much about that in terms of the situations that have cropped up at airports right across the country, as travel kind of came back after the pandemic. What's the best advice there? What do people need to keep in mind when they're approaching, the sort of security checkpoints?
Absolutely. So, follow CATSA's travel tips. They give you really good tools and tricks to divest properly. Always, if you're bringing a carry-on, make sure everything's in 100 milliliter containers in that plastic 1 liter bag. Shoes and jackets, taking those off and putting them in the divesting trays, and just making sure that, none of your liquids are over 100 milliliter containers. Those are like the surefire ways to make sure that you're going through smoothly.
All right, and that's, of course, what you're looking for on a day like today. Rachel Bertone from the Greater Toronto Airports Authority. Thanks for the time this morning. Appreciate this.
Thank you.